Flight attendants, what's the dumbest thing a passenger has ever asked mid-flight? Let me paint the scene. It's 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. We're 38 minutes into a 4-hour flight from Denver to Orlando. The passengers have settled into that awkward airplane silence, the one where someone's watching Fast and Furious without headphones, a toddler is aggressively peeling a banana, and someone in row 12 already took their shoes off like we're in their living room. I'm walking down the aisle with the drink cart, smiling like I'm not mentally dying inside when I hear it. Ding. The dreaded call button. Seat 14A. A guy, mid-30s. Looks like he owns at least 3 ironic t-shirts and once yelled at a Starbucks barista for misspelling his name. I walk over, fully expecting, can I get a Coke Zero? Or where's the bathroom? You know, normal questions. But no, this man looks me dead in the eyes and says, can you pull over real quick? At first I think I misheard. I blink. Sorry? He leans in like he's about to tell me government secrets. I think I left my AirPods at the gate. I wait for the punchline. There is none. He's dead serious. I stare at him, then out the window, where clouds are whipping past at 500 miles per hour. Then back at him. Sir, we're in the air. Yeah, but like, can't you just loop back or whatever? Like we're in an Uber. Like I'm gonna call the pilot and be like, hey Captain Jeff, I know we're at cruising altitude, but Kyle forgot his overpriced plastic earbuds and he's having a crisis. I try to explain calmly, like he's 5 years old and I'm not already losing brain cells. Sir, unfortunately we can't stop mid-flight. We're 30,000 feet in the air. We don't really have a reverse button. He frowns. So you're telling me I have to do this whole flight with no music? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Then, and I wish I were making this up, he pulls out his phone, holds it up to my face and says, well, can you at least connect this to the plane Bluetooth? The plane what now? He points to the overhead speakers. Like, just connect my phone to the plane. I can play it for everyone. Sir, what? The woman next to him, bless her soul, is slowly putting her tray table up like she's preparing for crash landing. I say, sir, there's no plane Bluetooth. Those speakers are for safety announcements. You can't just hijack the intercom and DJ the cabin. He sighs like I'm the unreasonable one. Wow, okay, didn't realize y'all were anti-music. At this point, he starts sulking. Legit sulking. Crossed arms, head tilted back like he's starring in a tragic music video that no one can hear because, again, he has no AirPods. He turns to the woman next to him and says, people in first class probably get backup headphones. She replies without missing a beat. They also get common sense. I have to walk away before I snort laugh. Fast forward 30 minutes. We hit some light turbulence. Nothing major. The seatbelt sign dings. And guess who hits the call button again? Ding. 14A. Of course. I walk back. Yes, sir? He goes, yeah. Can I get out real quick? I think I left something in the overhead bin. Sir, we're in turbulence. Yeah, but it's just my protein powder. I don't trust it being that far away. Is he worried it's going to escape? Start bulking up without him? I tell him he needs to remain seated, like every other passenger not trying to break their neck for a scoop of whey. He grumbles, pulls out a snack bar like he's punishing us all, and starts chewing dramatically. The next 2 hours, he keeps pressing the touchscreen on the seat back like he's trying to win a casino jackpot, slapping it, jabbing it, then calls me over again. This thing's broken. Sir, you're on the safety video. That's not interactive. He deadpan replies, well, that's a design flaw. By the time we land, I've aged a full presidential term. I swear the wheels hadn't even touched the ground yet, and he was standing, yanking his bag out of the overhead bin like we were in a race. He pushes past 5 people, gets to the front, turns to me and says, sorry if I was a little demanding. I just have a lot of flight anxiety. Sir, you don't have flight anxiety. You have main character syndrome. As he walked off the plane, I swear on all that is holy, his AirPods fell out of his hoodie pocket. He looked at them, looked at me, and said, oh my god, they were with me the whole time, then winked. Like this was a bit. I have never had to resist throwing someone out of an aircraft harder in my entire career. Next flight, I'm bringing a bottle of baby oil, wine, and a stress ball. And if anyone asks if we can swing by the gate real quick, I'm pulling the emergency slide and walking home. What's the funniest way you've ever misunderstood a punishment? So it started with the dishes, like most suburban wars do. I was minding my business, conserving my precious life force on the couch, watching twerk complications and doing some sneaky gooning, you know, self-care, when my mom stormed in like a recruiter for unpaid labor. Do the dishes. And I, being the self-aware, emotionally evolved gremlin that I am, replied, I can't. I'm on a mental recharge. That's it. That's the phrase that broke a camel's back and set a house on fire. She turned around like she just heard me say, I eat glass recreationally. Mental what? I said, I'm saving my energy for tomorrow. She blinked like she was processing a war crime, then pointed her finger at me, full Harry Potter style, and yelled, I don't want you to speak ever again. Boom. Spellcast. No trial. No appeal. Just instant vocal probation. Now, to be clear, any normal child would take that as a metaphor, but not me, since I'm a bit special. I took that as a legal contract, as if a judge smacked a gavel and said, your vocal cords are now contraband. So I turned around, dramatically, and walked to my room like I was being exiled from the kingdom. I didn't slam the door. I shut it slowly, like a dramatic period at the end of a betrayal text. That night, she knocks. Do you want dinner? I nod. What do you want? I blink twice, then shut the door. Theater. The next morning, I'm in the car, sitting passenger side like an abandoned Victorian orphan. She tries to make conversation. I just stare out the window, like I'm watching my past life die in the rain. She goes, are you mad? I shrug. No words. I am a mute. I am the ghost of disobedient sons past. At school, I commit. I'm talking full silent monk art. No raised hands, no hallway chatter. At lunch, I just pointed at the vending machine until some confused girl named Rachel pressed the buttons for me like I was a haunted doll. At one point, someone asked if I was okay. I just nodded slowly like a Final Destination survivor. That night, my dad asked, how was school? I gave him a thumbs up and continued chewing my chicken like a prisoner with emotional depth. Day 2 hits. I'm still mute. I've upgraded to texting my parents from the other room. Like, can I have a banana? Bring a bottle of baby oil. I'm stuck in the washing machine. My mom starts getting concerned. She pulls me aside like she's about to stage an intervention and whispers, sweetie, are you okay? I shrug. Again, she looks ready to cry. Meanwhile, I'm just wondering if I'll ever hear my own voice again. By day 3, I've reached enlightenment. I find an old whiteboard in the garage. You already know what happens next. I clean it up, grab a marker, and bring it to dinner. No explanation. I sit down like it's normal. They both stare at me like I've joined a cult that worships IKEA signage. My mom asks, why, are you still not talking? I flip the board around. In bold, all caps, I'm not allowed to. She stares. My dad spits water. Then both of them absolutely lose it. Like bent over, wheezing, choking on air level of laughter. My mom legit almost fell out of her chair like the spirit of comedy yeeted her soul from her spine. She goes, wait, you took that seriously? And I'm just sitting there, holding the whiteboard like it's my identity. I said, on the board, you told me not to speak ever again. She's crying now. Not emotional crying. My son is a dramatic idiot crying. Apparently Apparently, get this, she didn't mean don't speak ever again, like literally. She meant it like how moms say, fine, starve then, when you don't want to eat their weird tuna casserole. I sat there in silence for 3 straight days because I thought I was on parole from my own personality. No jokes, no hee, just vibes and whiteboard communication. My dad just shakes his head and goes, this one's your DNA, not mine. And honestly, he's not wrong. I finally break the silence and say, so, can I talk now? My mom wipes her eyes and says, sweetie, you were never not allowed to. And I say, oh, thank God, because I have a lot of opinions about the way you season chicken, it tastes like shit. Then she says, you were better quiet. So anyway, now I only speak in short bursts around dinner time, just in case she tries to revoke my voice again. I keep a whiteboard nearby, like emotional insurance.
There's a man in my dreams. Last night, he asked for my address. It started 3 weeks ago with what seemed like an ordinary nightmare. I was walking through an empty shopping mall, fluorescent lights humming overhead, when I noticed someone following me. A tall man in a dark coat, always staying just far enough behind that I couldn't make out his face clearly. Every time I turned a corner, he was there. When I tried to run, my legs moved like I was underwater. Classic anxiety dream stuff, nothing I hadn't experienced before during stressful periods at work. But when I woke up, I felt oddly unsettled. Not because of the dream itself, but because of how real it had felt. I could still smell the stale mall air, still hear the echo of my footsteps on the tile floor. The second dream came 2 nights later. Same man, different location. This time we were in a library, and he was sitting at a table across from me, reading a newspaper. When I looked up from my book, he lowered the paper and smiled. His face was perfectly ordinary, brown hair, average build, the kind of person you'd pass on the street without a second glance. But his eyes were wrong somehow. Too focused. Too knowing. Hello, Rebecca, he said, though I hadn't told him my name. I woke with a start, heart pounding. The dreams continued nightly after that, each one feeling more vivid than the last. He appeared in my childhood home, in my office, in places I'd never been but that felt hauntingly familiar. Sometimes we talked about mundane things, the weather, books I'd read, movies I'd seen. He seemed to know everything about me. You work at Morrison & Associates, he said during one dream where we sat on a park bench. Accounting department. You've been there 4 years. How do you know that? He smiled that same unsettling smile. I know lots of things about you, Rebecca. I tried to convince myself it was just my subconscious mind processing daily stress. But the conversations felt too coherent, too consistent from dream to dream. This man had a distinct personality, complete thoughts, responses that surprised me. Last week, the dreams took a darker turn. I've been thinking about you during the day, he said as we walked through what looked like my neighborhood, though the streets were wrong somehow. Do you ever think about me when you're awake? The honest answer was yes. I found myself distracted at work, wondering what he'd say next, dreading bedtime but also strangely curious about where I'd see him. You do, he said, reading my expression. I can tell. You're not real, I said. You're just in my head. He stopped walking and turned to face me fully. Then how do I know about the scar on your knee from when you fell off your bike at age 7? The one you've never told anyone about because you were embarrassed you were riding without permission? I looked down. There was the scar, faint but visible below my dream pajamas. I'd forgotten about that accident completely until he mentioned it. How do I know you sleep on the left side of your bed, even though you live alone? How do I know you keep your spare key under the blue flower pot by your back door? I woke up gasping, immediately checking my knee. The scar was there, exactly as he described. I spent that day researching sleep disorders, shared consciousness theories, anything that might explain what was happening. I found accounts of people who claimed to share dreams, but nothing that sounded quite like my experience. The next night, he was waiting for me in what looked like a coffee shop. You were researching me, he said, stirring a cup that appeared to be empty. Researching sleep disorders, I corrected. Same thing, isn't it? I am your sleep disorder, he laughed, but there was no humor in it. Or maybe you're mine. What do you want from me? I want to meet you properly. Face to face. We are meeting. He shook his head. This isn't real enough. I want to see you with my real eyes, not these dream ones. Something cold settled in my stomach. That's impossible. Is it? You tell me where you live, and we'll find out. I stood up abruptly, knocking over my dream chair. No, Rebecca, don't be afraid. We're practically friends already. I tried to wake myself up, using the techniques I'd learned over the years, pinching myself, trying to read text, looking for inconsistencies. Nothing worked. I was trapped in the dream until it decided to end. I'll ask again tomorrow night, he said pleasantly. And the night after that. I'm very patient. True to his word, he asked about my address in every subsequent dream. Sometimes casually, worked into normal conversation. Sometimes aggressively, backing me into dream corners until I had no choice but to refuse and wait for morning. Last night was different. I found myself in a perfect replica of my apartment. Every detail was exact, the water stain on my bathroom ceiling, the books on my nightstand, even the specific way my curtains hung slightly crooked. He was sitting on my couch, completely at home. Nice place, he said. Very cozy. How do you know what my apartment looks like? I've been here before. Many times. He gestured around the room. Though usually you're asleep in the bedroom when I visit. My blood turned to ice. That's impossible. Is it? You're a very heavy sleeper, Rebecca. Especially on weeknights when you take that melatonin. I'd never mentioned taking melatonin to anyone. I particularly like watching you in the morning, he continued. You always hit snooze 3 times, then rush around getting ready. You should really set your alarm earlier. Stop, I whispered. You talk in your sleep sometimes. Did you know that? Usually just mumbles, but sometimes you say my name. I don't know your name. He smiled wider than any human mouth should be able to stretch. Yes, you do. You've always known it. Say it. And somehow, impossibly, I did know it. The name was right there in my mind, as familiar as my own. David, I heard myself say. That's right. Now, Rebecca, I need you to tell me your address. I already know it, of course, but I need you to say it. It's important. Why? Because invitation matters. Permission matters. I can't really visit unless you invite me. In the dream, I felt my mouth opening, felt the words forming. My address, spoken in my own voice, giving him exactly what he wanted. I woke up screaming. It's been 16 hours since that dream, and I haven't slept since. I've checked every lock, every window. I've called in sick to work. I even considered going to a hotel, but what if I dream of him there? What if it doesn't matter where I am? The sun is setting now, and I can feel exhaustion creeping in despite the coffee I've been drinking all day. My eyelids are getting heavy. I'm terrified to fall asleep, but I can't stay awake forever. And the worst part? I keep catching myself looking out the window, checking the street below my apartment. Because part of me, despite everything, wants to see if he's real. Part of me wants to know if David is finally coming to visit. I looked through the peephole. Someone on the other side was looking back. The knock came at 11:47 p.m., 3 sharp raps that echoed through my apartment with unsettling precision. I wasn't expecting anyone, and deliveries didn't come this late to my building on Riverside Avenue. I muted the TV and listened. Another 3 knocks, identical in timing and intensity to the first. Whoever was out there was patient, methodical. I approached my front door quietly, bare feet silent on the hardwood floor. The hallway light was motion activated, so it should have turned on when someone approached my door. But I could see the gap under the door was dark. Another knock. 3 raps, perfectly spaced. I leaned toward the peephole and pressed my eye against the small lens. The fisheye view showed my hallway in dim emergency lighting, and standing directly in front of my door was a figure. But they weren't facing away from me, as someone knocking should be. They were facing the door. Facing me. And pressed against the outside of the peephole was another eye, staring directly back into mine. I jerked away from the door so fast I stumbled backward into my coffee table. The eye had been pale blue, almost colorless, with a pupil so dilated it looked like a black hole. And somehow, impossibly, it had been perfectly aligned with a peephole, as if they knew exactly where I would look. The knocking stopped. I stood frozen in my living room, heart hammering against my ribs. The silence stretched on for several minutes before I worked up the courage to look again. This time, the hallway was empty. I checked the locks, deadbolt engaged, chain secured. I waited another hour before convincing myself it had been some kind of optical illusion. Maybe the person had been holding something reflective, creating the appearance of an eye looking back. But I couldn't shake the image of that pale, dilated pupil staring directly into mine. The next night, it happened again. Same time, 11:47 p.m. 3 knocks, then silence. This time, I didn't approach the door immediately. I waited, listening for footsteps or voices in the hallway. Nothing. After 5 minutes, I crept to the peephole. The figure was there again, same position. But this time, I could see more details. It was a woman, tall and thin, wearing what looked like a dark coat. Her hair hung in limp strands around her face. And her eye, that same pale, almost colorless eye, was pressed against the peephole, waiting for me. When our eyes met through the lens, she smiled. I stumbled backward again, grabbing my phone to call building security. But when the guard came up 20 minutes later, the hallway was empty. He checked the stairwells and elevator, found nothing unusual. "You sure you actually saw someone?" he asked, giving me the look people reserve for paranoid shut-ins. "I'm sure." "Well, there's nobody here now. You want me to file a report?" I told him yes, though I doubted it would help. On the 3rd night, I was ready. I set up my phone to record through the peephole, positioning it carefully so the camera would capture whoever was out there. At 11:47, the knocks came right on schedule. I started recording and looked through the peephole. She was there again. I pressed against the lens, that unsettling smile on her face. But this time, she spoke. "I can see you, Michael." My name. She knew my name. "I've been watching you for so long. Through windows, through mirrors, through doors. You have such interesting dreams." I kept recording, hands shaking. When I played back the footage later, it showed only an empty hallway. The audio was silent except for my own breathing. I started researching my building, looking for any history of break-ins or strange incidents. What I found was worse than I'd expected. 3 years ago, a woman named Patricia Vance had lived in the apartment directly across from mine. She'd been found dead in her living room after neighbors complained about a smell. The police report mentioned signs of extreme paranoia. She'd covered all her windows with newspaper and installed 7 different locks on her door. More disturbing were the dozens of photos found in her apartment. Pictures taken through windows and doorways of various residents in the building. Long-range shots captured with telephoto lenses. And hundreds of close-up photos of eyes, different people's eyes, taken without their knowledge. Patricia had been obsessed with watching people, with collecting their most intimate moments. The photos were organized by apartment number, suggesting she'd been systematically stalking everyone in the building. My apartment number had the most photos. The police report noted that Patricia had died with her eye pressed against her own peephole, as if she'd been watching the hallway when she collapsed. The cause of death was listed as a brain aneurysm. But according to the timeline, Patricia had been dead for 3 years. So who was knocking on my door? On the 4th night, I tried something different. When the knocks came, I spoke through the door without looking. "What do you want?" Silence. Then, "I want to see you, Michael. Really see you." "Who are you?" "You know who I am. You've seen my pictures." I had seen them, Dozens of photos of myself taken through my windows, photos I'd found in the police report about Patricia's death. But Patricia was dead. Patricia? Is that you? A soft laugh. Death doesn't stop watching, Michael. It just changes where you watch from. I looked through the peephole despite every instinct telling me not to. She was there, but different this time. Her face was pale, almost translucent, and I could see dark veins beneath her skin. Her eye, still pressed against the lens, looked cloudy now, like cataracts. "I've been waiting so long to get this close," she said. "Do you know how frustrating it is to watch from a distance? To see you through windows but never really see into you? What do you want from me?" "I want to trade places, Michael. I want to be on your side of the door. And I want you to be on mine." The hallway behind her was wrong somehow. Instead of the familiar beige walls and carpet, I could see what looked like a vast, dark space stretching into infinity. And in that darkness, I glimpsed other figures standing motionless, their eyes reflecting light like animals in headlights. "All the people I used to watch," Patricia said, following my gaze. "They're all here with me now. Waiting. Watching. But it's not enough anymore. I need to be where they were. I need to be alive again." I backed away from the door. "No. You don't have a choice. I've been preparing for so long. Every night, getting closer. And now the door is thin enough." As she spoke, I watched in horror as her eye began to push through the peephole. The lens bulged outward, and then her pale, cloudy eye emerged from my side of the door, swiveling to look directly at me. I ran to my bedroom and slammed the door, fumbling for my phone to call 911. But before I could dial, I heard my front door open. Footsteps crossed my living room, slow and deliberate. I held my breath, pressing myself against my bedroom door. "Michael," Patricia's voice called. "I'm inside now. Aren't you going to look at me?" I stayed silent, clutching my phone. "I know you're there. I can see you through the door. I can see through everything now." The footsteps stopped right outside my bedroom. I watched the doorknob turn slowly. When my bedroom door opened, no one was there. But in the mirror on my dresser, I saw her, Patricia, standing right behind me, her pale hands reaching for my shoulders. The last thing I remember is her whispering, "Now you can watch from the other side." I woke up in darkness, surrounded by other motionless figures. In the distance, I can see light, warm, living light streaming through windows and doorways. And I understand now that I'm on the wrong side of everything, looking in at a world I can no longer touch. But sometimes, late at night, when someone looks through their peephole, I press my eye against the lens from this side. And I wait for them to let me back in.
Have you ever noticed how you can memorize thousands of songs and every single lyric of it? But the second your teacher says, "Just memorize this 2-minute speech," your brain goes,
"Nah, bitch, we don't do that here."
like, I'll be in the shower full-blown performing Eminem's Rap God. No stutter, no skip, hitting every syllable like I trained at the fucking opera. But when I stand in front of the class with one little cue card, I'm suddenly dyslexic, mute, and possibly possessed. I be looking at my audience like,
the ecosystem is,
"Girl, what? You wrote this yesterday, you typed it. Now you can't even say it?" Meanwhile, if someone plays super bass from the back of the room, my soul takes over like
This one is for the boys with the booming system.
I'm Nikki's lost twin. No nerves, no stage fright, just pure lyrical excellence. Why does the brain choose violence when it comes to school? Somehow my brain has unlimited storage for every song, every Vine quote, and every
Dumbass TikTok audio.
But when it comes to remembering my own damn words, it files for bankruptcy. Explain that science.
Put a finger down if you've ever thought of killing someone. Angry test. If you put more than 5 fingers down, you have serious anger issues. Put a finger down if you've slammed a door or an object of anger. Put a finger down if you've ever cried out of anger. Put a finger down if you've ever raised your voice in an argument. Put a finger down if you've ever been angry on the first person who pops up after you click share and then more. Put a finger down if you've broken something out of anger. Put a finger down if you've had a heated argument with your friend or a family member. Put a finger down if you've ever punched a wall to get of some anger. Put a finger down if your face always looks angry. Put a finger down if you've ever sent an angry text and regretted it later. Comment how many fingers you got down and follow for more.
My reflection doesn't follow me anymore. It waits. It started small. I'd brush my teeth and notice my reflection finishing a second after I stopped. Or I'd turn away from the bathroom mirror and catch a glimpse of my reflection still looking forward for just a moment too long. At first, I thought it was my eyes playing tricks on me. Maybe I was more tired than I realized, or the fluorescent light was creating some kind of optical illusion. But it kept happening. Yesterday morning, I was getting ready for work when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. I raised my hand to fix my hair, and my reflection didn't move. It just stood there, staring at me, while I stood with my hand halfway to my head. For about 3 seconds, we looked at each other, me and this other version of myself that wasn't copying my movements. Then suddenly, like it remembered what it was supposed to do, my reflection jerked into motion and raised its hand to match mine. I backed away from the mirror, heart pounding. When I looked again, everything seemed normal. My reflection moved when I moved, turned when I turned. But I could swear it was smiling when I wasn't. I started testing it. Standing in front of mirrors throughout my apartment, making sudden movements, watching for delays. Most of the time, everything seemed fine. But occasionally, maybe once or twice a day, there would be that lag. That moment where my reflection seemed to be thinking about whether or not to follow me. I tried recording it with my phone, but of course, nothing showed up on camera. Just me moving normally, my reflection moving normally. But I knew what I was seeing. The delays got longer. This morning, I waved at the bathroom mirror and my reflection didn't wave back for a full 5 seconds. It just stood there, studying me with an expression I'd never seen on my own face before. Curious. Calculating. When it finally did wave, the movement was different. Slower. More deliberate. Like it was learning how to be me. I've started avoiding mirrors when possible, but they're everywhere. In elevators, store windows, my phone screen when it's black. And every time I catch my reflection, there's something slightly off about it. The worst part is what happened last night. I was brushing my teeth before bed when I noticed my reflection brush its teeth for about 10 seconds longer than I did. I'd finished and put my toothbrush away, but my reflection kept brushing, methodical and slow, watching me the entire time. I turned off the bathroom light and went to bed. But when I came back an hour later to get a glass of water, the bathroom light was on. And my reflection was still there, still brushing its teeth, even though the real me was standing in the doorway. When it saw me, it slowly stopped brushing and smiled, a wide, unnatural grin that stretched too far across its face. Then it mouthed words I couldn't hear, almost ready. I haven't slept since then. I've been researching online, looking for explanations. Neurological disorders, psychological conditions, anything that might explain what's happening to me. But everything I find talks about people seeing things that aren't there, not seeing things that are there behaving wrong. This morning, I covered every mirror in my apartment with sheets and towels. But it didn't matter. I can see my reflection in the black screen of my turned-off TV, in the chrome surface of my refrigerator, in the glass of my picture frames. And in every surface, it's the same thing. My reflection, standing perfectly still, watching me with those calculating eyes. Waiting. I tried leaving the apartment, thinking maybe it was something specific to this place. But it followed me. In car windows, in store mirrors, in the screen of my phone. Everywhere I go, my reflection is there, not quite keeping up with my movements, studying me like it's trying to figure something out. But the most terrifying part happened an hour ago. I was walking past a storefront when I caught sight of my reflection in the window. As usual, it was delayed, moving a beat behind me. But this time, it stopped moving entirely. While I kept walking, my reflection stood perfectly still on the other side of the glass, watching me go. I turned around and walked back. My reflection was still there, in the same spot, even though I was now 20 feet away from where it should have been. It waved at me. Then it pointed to its watch and held up 5 fingers. 5 minutes? 5 hours? 5 days? I don't know what it's counting down to, but I'm starting to understand what's happening. I don't think that's my reflection anymore. I think it's something else. Something that's been watching me, learning how to be me, practicing my movements and expressions. And I think it's almost ready to take my place. Because when I got home just now, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. All the sheets and towels I'd used to cover the mirrors were on the floor. And when I looked in the bathroom mirror, my reflection was already there waiting for me. But this time, I wasn't moving at all. I was standing perfectly still in the doorway, but my reflection was moving around the bathroom, brushing its teeth, washing its face, going through a morning routine. Living a life I wasn't living. When it noticed me watching, it stopped and turned to face me. It looked exactly like me, but its eyes were different. Colder. More focused. It smiled and pressed its hand against the glass from the other side. Then it mouthed words that I could somehow hear despite the barrier between us. Thank you for letting me practice. I think I've got it now. The mirror started to ripple like water. And my reflection began to step through. I'm running now. I don't know where I can go where there aren't any reflective surfaces, but I have to try. Because I understand now what it's been waiting for. It's been waiting to figure out how to switch places with me. And I think it's ready. If you see someone who looks like me in the next few days, check their reflection. If it moves perfectly in sync, if there's no delay, no hesitation, that's not me. That's the thing that used to live in my mirrors. And the real me is trapped on the other side of the glass, watching helplessly as it lives my life. Don't look too long at your own reflection. It might be looking back.
The eviction is finally happening. My top surgery is scheduled. Yeah, that's right. Next summer, I'm gonna get to go on the beach shirtless. For the first time in 2 decades, I'm not gonna have to blow money on a titty sling anymore because there's nothing here that I gotta hold up. I don't need a shelf anymore. Ever since I was 13 and these 2 things popped into my life, I haven't been very jazzed about it. Here's all the things that started to go wrong once I got these motherfuckers. Suddenly I'm dress coded more. Suddenly the teachers stare at you. Suddenly boys stare at you. Suddenly you're just an object. Suddenly everything hurts once a month. Suddenly sometimes stuff just starts hurting up here for no reason at all, even if it's not not that time of the month. Don't even get me started on how girl swimsuits are $50 for the top and a separate $50 for the bottom, not just $50 for the whole thing. Like, boys just get to go out and buy a pair of trunks for 20 bucks, but we gotta pay double for everything. Surgery's happening August 20th. I'm not gonna name the surgeon or anything because it's none of your business, but I will tell you after the fact, if he does a good job, of course, and if he doesn't, I'll still tell you after the fact because I don't want anybody else to go. But I've heard really great reviews. I've done my research. I've waited 5 years to ensure that this is really what I want to do. I've hated these since they spawned in. I want them gone. You could say I'm downloading a mod, okay? I'm altering my character to what I would prefer. I don't see the issue with that. It harms nobody, makes me happy, so hope you're happy for me.
Where the rain falls. I never had a voice. People said I was broken, but Mama always told me, some hearts speak louder in silence. I think that's why she understood me. She never needed words to know when I was scared, or when I missed her just by looking at my shoes too long. But then she left. Just like the others. Only quieter. After that, it was just me and the wind. And Uncle Garrick. He wasn't really my uncle. Just someone who came when Mama got too tired. He moved into the house without asking, with eyes that looked like they'd seen too many endings. He never smiled. Not even when I tried. But he never yelled either. That counted for something. I watched storms a lot after Mama left. I liked how the rain made everything blurry, like the world was too sad to stay sharp. The wind would hum through the cracks in the walls like it was singing to me. Sometimes I pretended it was Mama. Other times I hoped it wasn't apostrophe T. One afternoon, I found a crow with one wing twisted, lying by the pond near our backyard. He didn't make a sound, just looked at me like he was waiting. I brought him crumbs and named him Noir. He followed me after that, like I was his secret. We didn't talk. But I liked him anyway. That night, the sky turned a strange kind of dark, not black, but a bruised purple. The kind of dark that feels. Uncle Garrick stood at the doorway, staring into the storm like it owed him something. I sat by the window, holding my tin pail, the one Mama gave me before she got sick. It still smelled like cinnamon. When the wind came, it howled like something alive. The house groaned, louder than usual. Wood snapped. The walls trembled. I curled under the table and squeezed my eyes shut. I wanted to scream, but of course I couldn't. Then, everything stopped. No sound. No rain. Just quiet. I opened my eyes and I was outside, lying near the pond. At first, I thought I made it. My chest felt light. The air was sweet after the storm. The trees stood still. The sky was soft blue, no clouds. I laughed. Not out loud, I never could, but inside, I laughed like my chest might float away. Then I turned. And saw the house. It was gone. Or what was left of it wasn't really a house anymore. Just broken pieces, like matchsticks snapped by angry hands. I ran or tried to. But the wind didn't push against me anymore. The grass didn't crunch under my feet. And no one saw me. People were there digging, shouting, crying. Someone pointed at the rubble. I followed their fingers. They found Uncle Garrick. He looked the same. Calm. Cold. Still. Then someone whispered, "The boy must have been under the back wall." My heart dropped. I backed away, shaking my head. No, I'm right here. I looked around for my tin pail. It was there, half buried beneath a beam, crushed. I reached for it, but my hand passed through it like smoke. I couldn't feel the ground. I couldn't feel anything. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Uncle Garrick. But he was different. He wasn't dusty or bruised like before. His eyes weren't just tired, they were endless. The kind of eyes that held too much silence. "I told you," he said, his voice quiet like a funeral breeze. The house wouldn't hold. I shook my head, backing away, but he only stepped closer. Noir landed on his shoulder, silent as ever. "You've been carrying her goodbye for too long," Garrick whispered. "It's time." That's when I saw the truth. In his shadow. In the way the light bent around him. He wasn't my uncle. He was death. And he had come for me. I didn't cry. I don't know if I even could anymore. Behind him, through the trees, I saw light. Faint. Warm. And her. Mama. She wasn't sick anymore. Her hair shone like the sun. She had that look, the one that always said, "You are safe now." But I didn't move yet. I turned to the house, one last time. To the place where I hid under the table. To the spot where my voice should have screamed but never did. To the boy still buried there, the one no one would hear again. Then I reached out and took Garrick's hand. It felt like closing a book I didn't want to finish. The wind picked up again. But it didn't howl this time. It hummed. Soft and low, like a lullaby. And I walked into the light, holding death's hand like a father's, quiet, warm, and full of goodbye.
Pope Francis died. Wait, seriously? Yep, he just died today, like 6 hours ago. Hey, didn't JD Vance just visit him? I mean, yeah, I think so, but what does that have to do with anything? It's like he met the devil himself and then had to race away to tell God. What? He spent his final hours in the presence of a human with less empathy than a brick. That would do me in too. Jesus, Jess. Yep, that's exactly who the Pope is going to see. He's gonna point JD Vance out in a crowd and beg God to discontinue that model. I don't know where you get this stuff. The Pope was alive, he meets JD Vance, and next thing you know, he's Okay, I'm not the crazy one here. You're online way too much. Imagine the last thing you see in life is the human embodiment of a sleep paralysis demon, except the sleep paralysis demon has blue eyes. Alright, you got me there with the blue eyes. They're scary. I'm telling you, JD Vance sucked out the rest of Pope Francis's life force. For legal reasons, it was natural causes, and all of this was a joke. No, he didn't. Well, you and JD Vance have never been in the same room, so how would you know? Maybe we can ask his couch if it's seen anything. This is everything the president has done in his first 3 months in office. Implemented tariffs that raised the cost of steel, lumber, electronics, cars, furniture, you name it. Caused Temu and Target and other companies to raise their prices to combat tariffs. Implemented multiple trade wars. Made English the national language of the United States. Requires that all truck drivers are able to speak English. Deported 4 U.S. children, one of which had cancer. He removed critical protections from journalists. He's been sending migrants, including legal migrants, to Guantanamo Bay to live in conditions that resemble 1930s Germany. Created a $5 million gold card for wealthy people to move to America. Caused ICE to raid the home of an American family, traumatizing them when they're all American citizens. Completely dismantled DEI federally. Started selling 2028 merch because he wants to run for a 3rd term, even though that's against the Constitution. Banned healthcare for trans teens. Changed the name of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. Froze funds for students in schools that wouldn't dismantle their DEI. He refused to help a Maryland American man get home after wrongly deporting him to El Salvador. Gave Elon Musk and his 19-year-old lackey access to the Treasury. RFK Jr. Completely dismantled the Department of Education federally. Canceled $400 million in university aid to Columbia students. Pardoned Capitol rioters that harmed police on January 6th. Withdrew America from the World Health Organization. Attempted to end birthright citizenship. Banned trans people from serving in the military. Fired over 25,000 federal workers and then was forced to rehire them. Withdrew America from the Paris Climate Accords. Deported 17 people to El Salvador and then didn't even release their names because they didn't give them due process. Deporting thousands of people without due process.
Why were you hiding from me at school today?
Excuse me, who are you? I don't remember talking to you before.
You forgot about me? You literally gave me flowers today after class.
And I told you to give them to Jessica. You thought they were for you?
Oh, they weren't? I'm sorry for getting confused then.
You dumb, ugly girl. I'd never look at you romantically.
That's rude, Tyler.
Who told you my secret name? I keep that only for my girlfriend and best friends.
I just saw it on your old Facebook account.
You go away from me, you stalker.
You won't say thank you to me?
Why would I?
I saved your life today. That crazy car almost hit you, but I grabbed you just in time.
And you got me dirty with your filthy hands. My mom is still washing my jacket.
But I just wanted to save you, Tyler.
Don't you dare use this name again. And who let you touch me, weirdo?
But without me, you'd be dead or in the hospital.
What a bunch of nonsense. I was already well without you. In fact, you almost pushed me to the car.
I did not do that.
Who gave you permission to raise your voice against me?
I'm so sorry.
I asked our headmaster to expel you from our school. You're being abusive and you almost got me killed.
Why did you lie? Also, the next closest school is 30 miles away.
That sounds like a you problem. I won't even wish you good luck.
My parents will be so mad after this. Did I ever tell you that my father is abusive?
Did I ever ask you to tell me?
No.
Then leave me alone and never talk to me again.
Tyler, help, my father is angry. He's going to do something very bad. You're the only one I can talk to.
Thanks for reminding me to block you.
Done. Oh my god, how are you done? I found a faster way to solve for X than what Mr. Hall taught us. But we have to do it Mr. Hall's way. It shouldn't matter if Jess's answer is correct though, right? I think you're gonna get in trouble. Ladies, what's with all of the talking? And gentlemen. Barely. There better be a good reason why you're all doing this instead of your work. Well, Jess is already done. Impossible, I just gave you it 20 minutes ago. She found a new way that wasn't yours. A more efficient way. That's enough, Kyle. Yeah, Jess, I see that you found a way to solve for X faster, but it's not the way that I showed you, so are you serious? You're gonna have to redo it. What? Why do I need to redo it? My answers are correct, and I showed my work like you asked. But it's not my method. But my method works too. And that's great for you, but you're gonna do it my way in my classroom, or you'll take a 0. There's no way you're for real. Yes, I am now. Are you gonna take a 0, or are you gonna redo it? No, I'll redo it. You have 30 minutes. I told you all so. Abby, no one cares what you have to say. Oh, and Kyle, go flip your card. Oh, what did I do?
Who the fuck is your best friend? Your best friend is a strange creature, possibly not even human. He knows all your secrets, all your dumbest thoughts, and if he ever snitches on you, you're fucking done. You can tell him to go fuck himself, and he'll say right back at you. But 5 minutes later, you're still hanging out because friendship is stronger than logic. When you're down bad, he's laughing first, helping second. When you fuck up, he'll fix it, but never let you forget how stupid you are. If you fall asleep first, he will fuck with you. If you tell him something serious, he'll make a joke first, then help out later. If he owes you money, good luck ever seeing that shit again. You don't realize how unhinged he is until you see how he acts around other people. When you two are together, society is in fucking danger. He'll tell you, hop on a game, then disappear for 5 hours like a damn ghost. He'll eat your food, steal your clothes, and somehow make you feel bad about it. He knows exactly what pisses you off, and he will use it against you just for fun. But if someone dares to fuck with you, he'll be the first to throw hands. Because this isn't just a friend, it's family, but worse. Tag your best friend to let him know who the fuck he is.
Grandkids, what outdated tech did your grandparents hilariously misuse? My grandma Marcia is the sweetest human alive but has absolutely zero tech knowledge. Like, still uses a flip phone in 2022 level of tech illiterate. I was staying with her for a couple weeks during summer break because my parents were renovating our house and it was uninhabitable with all the construction dust and noise. Grandma lives in this cute little house she's been in since forever, and she has this spare bedroom that's basically a time capsule from when my mom was a teenager. Anyway, the first night I'm there, I'm unpacking and I find this ancient iPod Classic in the dresser drawer. Like the chunky silver one with the click wheel from literally 2005 or something. And I'm low-key obsessed because it's such a vibe. So I plug it in to see if it still works. Miracle of miracles. This thing actually turns on after charging. The battery is trash, but it works when plugged in. I start scrolling through the music and OMG, it's all these amazing early 2000s songs my mom must have loaded on there. Lots of Usher, Black Eyed Peas, Avril Lavigne, absolute gold. So I'm using this thing occasionally in the evenings while I'm staying there. Mostly with headphones, but sometimes playing it through its tinny little speaker when I'm in my room. Grandma sees it a couple times but doesn't say anything, just gives it curious looks. About a week into my stay, I notice Grandma is acting weird. She keeps checking the mail anxiously and making these concerned faces at me when she thinks I'm not looking. I figured maybe she was worried about a bill or something, but whenever I asked if everything was okay, she'd just smile and say, "Oh yes dear, everything's fine." But it was not fine. I could tell she was stressed about something. She started taking phone calls in whispers out on the porch, which she never does. And one day I overheard her talking to her friend Amy on the landline about being worried about money, which was super weird, because Grandma is usually pretty comfortable financially. Then one afternoon, I come home from meeting up with some friends and find Grandma sitting at the kitchen table with her checkbook out, looking absolutely devastated. Her eyes are all red like she's been crying. I immediately panic and ask what's wrong, and she just pushes this envelope across.
What's a poor kid struggle rich kids will never understand? By 7th grade, I'd mastered the art of washing my hair with dish soap. It wasn't ideal, but when your single mom works 2 jobs and still struggles to keep the electricity on, actual shampoo becomes a luxury. The problem was dish soap left my hair looking greasy by 2nd period. I'd try to hide it under hoodies, but in PE class, there was nowhere to hide. Kids started calling me greaseball and dirty Diana. I'd pretend I didn't hear them, but every comment felt like a knife. Our PE teacher, Mrs. Lewis, was this no-nonsense woman who seemed to see everything. She noticed when kids forgot their uniforms to avoid showers. She noticed when someone was being picked on. One Tuesday, after a particularly bad day of comments, I stayed behind to help put away equipment. Mrs. Lewis was organizing the locker room when she called me over. "Diana, can you help me carry these supplies to the storage room?" She handed me a box of what looked like sample bottles, tiny hotel-sized shampoos and soaps. "The high school donated these," she explained as we walked. "But honestly, I don't know what to do with them all. They're too small for most of the kids here." In the storage room, she started unpacking the box. "You know what? Why don't you take some of these home? Your little sister might like the pretty bottles." I didn't have a little sister, but I didn't correct her. She handed me a small bag with about 10 tiny shampoo bottles and some mini soaps. "There's more where these came from. Just let me know when you run out." The first time I used real shampoo in months, I almost cried. My hair felt soft, smelled good, actually looked clean. Those bottles were supposed to last forever at the rate I was using them. I rationed them like they were liquid gold. Mrs. Lewis seemed to have an endless supply of donations. Every few weeks, she'd
Dude, we're playing Knockout at recess. I love Knockout. Yeah, I can't wait to beat the boys. All right, students, now the court is not very big, so you can only come up here and play if you're wearing purple socks. And don't worry, I'll pick a new color tomorrow. Mrs. Smith?
Yeah, Jesse.
Do you have to have purple socks all over or just some purple? Just purple somewhere, not rocket science. Oh, okay.
But I'm not wearing any.
I have purple on my socks. What about you, Chris? Oh, yeah. I do too. Sweet, so we can both play. Let's go line up. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, ladies, show me your socks so I can make sure you follow the rules. I have purple socks, see? All right, Kristen, let's see yours. Do I have to show you? Yep, I'm making everybody do this to ensure that we're all following the rules, okay? Okay. 1 second. Do you even have purple socks? Yeah, I do. Sorry, I'm just trying to find them. They're located in your shoe.
Oh my god.
Come on, Chris, just show her your sock. I'm sorry, I can't find them.
Looks like I'm yelling today.
Listen to me. You're gonna go back up there and you're gonna sit in the bleachers and you're not gonna lie to me again the rest of the year. You got it? Go.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, Mrs. Smith, can I just give her one of my socks? Should have thought of that little trick before you came up here.
Our teacher was a predator, so I taught him a lesson he'll never forget. It started small, things that at first didn't even register as wrong. Mr. Hawthorne was the kind of teacher everyone liked, or pretended to. Early 40s wore those too tight dress shirts that screamed midlife crisis. Always cracking jokes, always the cool one. But the girls in class, they didn't laugh. They smiled, tight, uncomfortable smiles, and kept their heads down. At first I thought maybe they were just shy. It's high school. Everyone's awkward. But then I started noticing more. The way he'd call only on the girls. The way he'd lean too close when he talked to them. How he always seemed to accidentally brush their arms when handing back papers. How every time he said their names, it came out too soft, too familiar. One afternoon, I saw him cornering Emily, this quiet freshman, by the lockers. She was clutching her books so tight her knuckles were white. Mr. Hawthorne was smiling, talking low, too low. She nodded. Not the way you nod when you're agreeing, the way you nod when you just want to get away. When he finally left, I asked her if she was okay. She flinched like I'd hit her. "I'm fine," she said. Too fast. "I'm fine." But she wasn't. None of them were. I started paying closer attention after that. Watching, listening. There were patterns. Girls getting called after class for extra help. Girls getting special assignments no one else knew about. Girls getting private tutoring in his classroom during lunch. Always the girls. Always alone. I tried talking to a few of them. They shut down fast. "He's just strict. I don't want any trouble. I need good good grades, fear. That's what it was. And when I finally, stupidly, told a teacher, they smiled politely and told me Mr. Hawthorne was a valued member of the staff. When I pushed harder, the counselor said, sometimes students misinterpret friendliness. Misinterpret number. They were covering for him. I realized two things that day. One, no one was going to save those girls. And two, if someone was going to stop him, it had to be me. But not by reporting him, not by playing fair. Mr. Hawthorne was careful, a predator wrapped in a cardigan. If I wanted to end him, I had to be smarter, darker, worse. I started small, a recorder hidden in my hoodie pocket, nothing fancy, just enough to catch the way Mr. Hawthorne talked to girls when he thought no one was listening. I captured hours of audio. Come by after school. We can go over it alone. You have so much potential. Special girls like you need special attention. You don't need to tell anyone about our meetings. Some people wouldn't understand, enough to make your skin crawl. But I didn't stop there. I went through yearbooks, past newsletters, looked at which students he singled out, who he mentored. The pattern went back years. Different faces, same story. Some of them had left the school. I found a few online, through social media, old forums. I reached out carefully, not pushing, just offering an ear. Some ignored me, but a few responded. They told me stories worse than I imagined. Late night calls, inappropriate messages, threats when they tried to speak up. One girl, Amanda, said he told her, no one will believe you. They'll just think you're a liar who wanted attention. And he was right. When she told the administration, they labeled her emotional and quietly suggested she transfer schools, which she did. I built a file. Audio recordings, testimonies, photos of Mr. Hawthorne getting too close, touching shoulders, hands lingering too long. But I still needed more. Mr. Hawthorne wasn't just slick. He was beloved. A reputation like a bulletproof vest. If I was going to destroy him, I had to turn his own world against him. I started by playing the long game, befriending him, staying after class, asking for help, laughing at his dumb jokes. It made me sick, but it worked. He let his guard down around me, started treating me like one of his cronies, told me things he shouldn't, about parties the staff threw, where boundaries were different, where things happened and stayed quiet. He bragged about it, smirked like the king of a castle built on fear. And that's when I set the trap. Mr. Hawthorne loved technology, thought he was a genius because he used an iPad in class, so I gave him one. A second-hand iPad, jailbroken, loaded with hidden spyware, looked brand new. I accidentally left it in his classroom after a tutoring session. He found it, of course, and kept it. Everything he typed, every site he visited, every photo he took, I had it, including the private folder he created, labeled innocently enough, lesson plans. Inside were photos of students, nothing outright criminal, but disgusting, inappropriate, creepy, zoomed-in shots of girls bending over desks, photos of girls eating lunch, laughing, unaware, a collection, evidence. Now I had him, but it still wasn't enough. Exposing him would ruin him, sure, but I didn't just want ruin, I wanted annihilation. Annihilation takes patience. I knew Mr. Hawthorne's weaknesses, ego and power, so I used them. First, I created an anonymous Instagram account, a fake student, complete with believable posts, followers, and inside jokes stolen from real students' profiles. I made it clear I was interested in him. I posted stories that baited him. Bored in class, wish someone would make things exciting. Some teachers are way cuter than they should be. It didn't take long. One night, his message popped up. Just a hey, at first, innocent. Then, you're very mature for your age. I could help you with your grades if you keep this between us. Screenshotted, archived, filed, but I wasn't done. I sent similar bait to his personal email, this time from a fake parent account, pretending to be a mom of a student, thanking him for looking after her daughter. He responded, too eagerly, too casually. I always have a soft spot for special girls. Sometimes I take extra care outside of school hours. More screenshots. I compiled it all into a neat little package, a file so heavy it could break the internet if dropped, but a quiet leak wasn't enough. No, this needed a show, a finale. Prom was coming up. Mr. Hawthorne, of course, volunteered as a chaperone. He always did. A night full of loud music, bad punch, terrible dancing, and every student in one place. Perfect. I planted the iPad in his car the night before, slipped it under the seat where he kept his jacket. His spyware was already running. Then I waited. At prom, he prowled, watching the girls, lurking by the photo booth, complimenting dresses a little too much. While he was distracted, I activated the second part of my plan. Earlier that week, I'd hacked the school's projector system. Nothing fancy, just a basic remote override. I synced the iPad to the projector, and at exactly 9 p.m., right when the dance floor was packed, the screen lit up. Photos, his private collection. The room froze. First a few gasps, then full-blown screams. Mr. Hawthorne stood there, pale, frozen, staring at his own sickness displayed 30 feet tall. He tried to run. Security stopped him. I watched from the side, sipping punch as the principal stormed in. Phones were already out. Pictures, videos, proof. He was finished, but I wasn't. The school launched an internal investigation. Of course they tried to spin it, said it was a misunderstanding, so I leaked everything to the press. Local news, social media, anonymous tips, the whole file. Within 48 hours, his face was on every screen in the state. Predator teacher exposed, parents furious, victims speak out. The police opened a formal case. Old victims, girls who had stayed silent, started coming forward. It snowballed, arrests, charges, court dates, and while Mr. Hawthorne's life burned down around him, I made sure he knew exactly who lit the match. One final package, printed screenshots, copies of testimonies, a single photo of Marley, my dog, sitting happily at my side, and a note, you picked the wrong class. Mr. Hawthorne didn't go down quietly. He tried to play the victim, claimed the photos were innocent, misinterpreted, said he was mentoring the girls. Nobody bought it, but watching him try, it was pathetic. Bail was set high, but not high enough. He scraped together money somehow. Family, friends, a few he hadn't disgusted yet. He got out for a while. I knew he'd be desperate. He had no job, no home, no allies. His reputation was radioactive, and desperate people make mistakes. I made sure of it. I slipped anonymous letters into his mailbox. Fake job offers. Prestigious ones. Universities. Private schools. High salary. Big titles. Each one was baked. Each one led to interviews that never existed. Only carefully timed appointments where reporters just happened to be waiting. Photos of him skulking around school buildings in the dead of night flooded online. More fuel for the fire. He tried moving out of town. I made sure his future landlords got copies of his case file. Concerned citizen tips. No one would rent to him. He tried switching his name. I paid for a background search service to keep tabs on every alias. No matter where he went, what name he tried to hide under, he couldn't escape it. But ruining his life wasn't enough. I wanted him to feel what his victims felt. Powerless, trapped, exposed. So I dug deeper. never. Found out he had one asset left, an old cabin upstate, left to him by his parents. His last safe place. It wasn't listed anywhere. Off the grid. Supposed to be private. I found it. It wasn't hard. Predators always think they're smarter than they are. I visited late at night. Left no trace, just reminders. Photos of his victims, pinned to trees, nailed to the cabin door. A recording of his own voice, the disgusting things he used to whisper to girls, playing on a loop from hidden speakers in the woods. Soft at first, then louder and louder. He called the cops. They found nothing. I moved the photos around each time. The voices, too. He stayed up all night, terrified, jumping at shadows, sleeping with lights on. The fear he once planted in others, blooming back onto him. It wore him down. He stopped showing up to court. He stopped leaving the cabin. Neighbors said they saw him pacing the yard, muttering to himself. He looked thinner, grayer, like a man being eaten alive from the inside out, which he was, by the truth, by fear, by me. But fear alone wasn't enough. I wanted humiliation. Final, irreversible humiliation. So I planned the last act carefully. Mr. Hawthorne still had online accounts, old ones he hadn't deactivated, forgotten relics of his past life. I hacked into them quietly, carefully, pulled photos from his old vacations, his Teacher of the Year award pictures, even personal messages, all the fake kindness he used to lure students. I built a website, simple, brutal. Meet Mr. Hawthorne, a life of lies photos, evidence, testimonies, his entire false legacy, stripped bare and set on display. And then I sent the link to everyone, parents at the school, local news, his former employers, his family, every single one. It spread like wildfire. He couldn't leave his house without seeing people staring, whispering, filming, couldn't log onto the internet without being reminded of the monster he was. He tried to fight it, sent desperate cease and desist letters, threatened lawsuits, but there's no unringing a bell. There's no coming back from truth. The final nail was his pension. Somehow, he still qualified for a small one. Not much, but enough to survive. Until I found a clause buried deep in the Education Board's code. Pension benefits could be revoked for actions bringing disrepute to the institution. I gathered all the evidence again, packaged it neatly, submitted it to the board anonymously. It took 6 months, but when the ruling came down, it was beautiful. Pension revoked, permanent disbarment from teaching, all licenses pulled, name scrubbed from every award, every honor roll. He didn't just lose his present, he lost his past. The last time I saw him, he was sitting on the porch of his crumbling cabin, alone, pale, thin, a husk of the arrogant man who once thought he was untouchable. I didn't say anything. I just watched him for a while, let him feel it, the weight of every life he ruined pressing back on him. And then I turned and walked away. Because the truth is, monsters don't need cages, they need mirrors. What's the most absurd reason someone tried to get you fired? I never thought I'd get called into a meeting over pasta, but apparently, confidence is a threat. So I'm at work, it's lunchtime, and I head to the break room like a normal person, with my little glass container of leftover spaghetti, some garlic bread wrapped in foil, feeling mildly excited to not eat sad desk chips for once. I open the microwave, slide my lunch in, hit 230, and lean against the counter like I've done this 1,000 times. Because I have. I'm not new to the microwave game. My posture was relaxed, one hand in my pocket. I might have even nodded at it, just to let it know who's boss. Then I hear it, a cough, dramatic, performed. I turn around, and one of my coworkers, we'll call her Megan because her real name is Megan, is standing there with this mix of shock and offense on her face like I just microwaved a live animal. I say, you okay? She goes, you don't have to act like that. Like what? She says, like, so confident. I'm sorry, what? You're just standing there like you own the place. Megan, it's a microwave. I'm not claiming territory like a lion. I'm just trying to reheat carbs. I laugh. Big mistake. She squints like I've just insulted her family's legacy. Cut to 2 hours later. I get an email. Can you swing by HR when you have a moment? Cool, cool, cool. Love that. Always a fun sentence. I walk in, and the HR rep looks uncomfortable immediately. Like even she doesn't want to be in this room. She says, so, we've had a concern raised about your behavior in the kitchen. I blink. My behavior? In the kitchen? What did I do? Assault the toaster? She says Megan reported me for being emotionally intimidating during meal preparation. I'm sorry. What in the Martha Stewart is happening? Apparently, Megan told HR that my body language while microwaving lunch created a hostile environment, and I quote, projected dominance. HR asks if I've noticed others acting differently around me. Yeah, because you let people report me for reheating spaghetti like a functioning adult. They suggest I practice more neutral posture in shared spaces. So now I'm supposed to slouch for safety? At this point, I'm genuinely curious if I've entered a prank show. I ask, can I know exactly what about my posture was intimidating? And HR, trying not to laugh, goes, she said you leaned. Leaned? What was I supposed to do? Stand at attention? Curtsy? Apparently, my leaning and lack of microwave hesitation made her feel psychologically minimized. So I asked, what exactly do you want me to do? And HR, again, reading off the world's stupidest email, says, maybe try waiting a few seconds before starting the microwave. Don't just go straight into it. Wait a few seconds? To what? Build suspense? I leave the meeting with an official verbal warning for confident kitchen behavior. I wish I was making this up. Now here's where I get petty. The next day, I bring in lunch again. This time, a burrito. Big, wrapped in foil. Microwave ready, delicious. But instead of just nuking it, I stand next to the microwave and hesitate. I squint at the buttons like I've never used technology in my life. I whisper things like, is it on? And do I push start or wait for the spirit of the burrito to guide me? Then I turn around and say to Megan, who is, of course, in the room again, sorry, I'm just trying to avoid projecting energy. Let me know if my presence is too assertive. She doesn't say a word. She just stares. The microwave beeps. I jump like it startled me. Then, and only then, I press start with 2 fingers gently, like I'm defusing a bomb. As I leave, I say to the room, lunch is a journey, not a power move. Later that week, Megan submits another HR complaint. This time, passive-aggressive microwave behavior. I didn't get fired, but I did get moved to a different building. I still heat up my food with confidence. Now I just do it in a different zip code.